This presentation was prepared for Second International Conference on Tropical Resources and Sustainable Sciences 2020. Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. My name is Nurul Shahida binti Mak Hussein. Me and the other authors, Professor Technologies Insinyur Dr. Ahmad Rasdan Ismail with Madam Sarah Wahidah Hasbullah and Miss Nawal Abdul Qadir. We are from Faculty of Creative Technology and Heritage, University Malaysia Kelantan. Has been prepared a presentation for submitted paper to this conference with the title A Review on Sustainable Development and Heritage Preservation and its Council Detrimental in Batik Dyeing. In this presentation, we had divided into several sections, which are Introduction, Literature Review, Methodology with Analysis and Result, Discussion, and Conclusion. First and foremost, Introduction. The introduction comes with the question on what is sustainable development and how it is related to heritage preservation. Next, secondly, Literature Review. In this session, the review on the terms bring the issues towards the sustainable development and cultural heritage by involving the local textile, which is batik. Next, the methodology with analysis and result. What is hiding behind the scene? By reviewing the past studies, it tends to identify batik manufacturing process and detrimental effect contributed by the heritage craft of batik. Then, it followed with the discussion, achieving sustainability in heritage can be done with the strategy of dyeing batik with natural resources. It is reintroduced the local knowledge which practice the natural dyeing process. And finally, it is a wrap for this paper to conclude and emphasize the issues with the strategy proposed. It is positive effort towards sustainable heritage. In introduction, let us acknowledge the general meaning of terms sustainable development and heritage preservation. Sustainable development refers to maintain, preserve, and balance the ecological by avoiding depletion of natural resources. Meanwhile, heritage preservation is an alternative taken to remain the cultural resources, including tangible and intangible materials from wildlife community. Both approaches have the same aim, which is to remain the value things continuously for the long-term usefulness and memorial local knowledge practices. Fortunately, Malaysia plays an active role in involving with sustainable development goals in economic planning process. It also can be seen towards the support with the implementation of policies through the National Heritage Act 2005, Creative Industry Policy in 2008, and Malaysia Vision 2020. These were some of the government concern towards enriching both sustainable development and heritage preservation. Here the photo of the scenario happens worldwide regarding the textile manufacturing. It is all about the wastewater and hazardous chemicals used. Therefore, the problem or issue emphasized in this paper was there is imbalanced implementation in batik processes, which is the use of materials and surplus of its production, which deteriorate the ecology systems. There is a question pop out. To what extent the material culture and arts preserve the environment to fulfill the social needs through economic pressure? Hence, the objective for this paper is to review the effect obtained from less controlled process of batik production by answering those questions. First, what is the techniques and material used in batik dyeing process. Second, what is the detrimental effect being exposed to chemical substances used in batik dyeing to vicinity and practitioner? Third, what is the strategy to stabilize the situation? In literature review, the questions on what is cultural heritage roles and how it copes with sustainable development can be solved by defining both. Sustainable development can be derived as the way of monitoring the activities to ensure the limitation of the preserving not purposely only for one element of economic but conducted also with social and environment. Meanwhile, heritage consists the people's culture relates to community life which have been developed 1,000 years before, and there is no hesitation in inheriting the ideas, actions and artifacts directly or indirectly. Issues towards the sustainable development and cultural heritage may be seen in this situation. They may have mutual equity on preservation issues. It tends to have same intention in preserving something for the next generation with the better living system and undeniable precious heritage entwined. However, unparalleled practices have been manipulated the sustainable development principle to get the hidden trade-off opportunity intrinsically using the cultural heritage for economic values. Then it emanated the mass production industrial to fulfill the market demands but played the role on behalf of reviving the cultural heritage of batik. By bringing the remarkable craft of batik, which has been practiced for approximately 2,000 years, the valued and undergo process identified, and also it conceals the detrimental effects. Methodology with analysis and results. In order to see the review of consequences contributes along the process, it has been discussed according to previous studies and shown in following presentation. Firstly, batik manufacturing process. It can be divided into two sections, which are 1. The process and 2. The material used. Batik manufacturing process involved with 5 types of process, which are fabric treatments, techniques applied in producing design on batik, coloring or dyeing, fixing, and boiling. The first process is fabric treatment. Selected fabrics will be washed with chemical solution like sodium carbonate or soda ash, or detergent with hot water applied for removing stains from fabric. Next process encapsulated into techniques which involve 1. Batik chop or stamp batik require the use of materials like wax, include the paraffin and resin, and also oil. Same goes to batik canting or hand-drawn batik. Meanwhile, screening batik require the materials like photo emulsion, sensitizer, and cold wax. Marbling and tie and dyes. Probably use the synthetic dyes solution and sodium silicates to deliberate the designs. Then discharge technique. In producing one of the design, use hydrochloric acid. It then followed by dyeing process to color design fabrics. Usually it involves the reactive dyes like caustic soda, hydrochloric acid, and Rimosol. Fixing process used to remain the vibrant colors on fabrics even it undergo the boiling process. The agent of fixation usually used known as sodium silicate and mordant. Last but not least is boiling process. Boiling process tend to remove wax used on the fabrics with high temperature, and it requires sodium carbonate or soda ash to completely remove the wax from the fabrics. Dear viewers and listeners, secondly, we now can acknowledge the detrimental effect with continuous and long-term exposure towards the chemical substances without correct handling. It will lead to the damage and harm the environment, specifically practitioners directly and consumers silently. Eco-Textile in Business Week article assumed that the population that is allergic to chemicals will grow to 60% by the year 2020. This is one of the issues to be worried. Here, several chemical substances used along in batik process, and it risks towards the negligent actions. The risks are there, but how we handling and minimize the risk is being prioritized. First, the use of sodium hydroxide or caustic soda in naphtha dyes for fixation or bleaching may cause the effect on skin or dermal problem. Meanwhile, hydrochloric acid applied in discharge technique and naphtha dyeing may produce severe burns. Sodium carbonate or soda ash, which usually used a lot in batik process for stain and wax removal, will cause perforation if contact to eyes. Fixing agent for reactive dyes use sodium silicate to maintain the color. The chronic ulcerative lesion may irritate the skin after the contact with sodium silicate continuously. Therefore, it was highlighted here the risk that may contribute from our heritage products, whereas it also can create awareness into the safety and health environment in pursuing batik with natural dyeing processes. In this discussion session, the strategy to minimize the problem is by practicing natural dyeing processes. Sustainable strategy bring objective of integrating social, economic, and environment by firmly concerned towards their implication for different socio-economic groups and continuously for future generations. The strategies will implement the way to reduce, reuse, conserve, and preserve as an alternative to let the cultural and environmental needs being sustained and survival. The effective sustainable strategies will always be encompassed with the practices taken by the practitioners and organizations. The figure shows the batik making procedures with the natural dyes implementation process. The process of textile dyeing between synthetic dyes and natural dyes undergo the same procedures except for the handling and the use of the dyes to decorate the textile surfaces. The implementation of cradle-to-cradle process in batik dyeing contribute less pollution and waste to environment, harm to practitioners and consumers. As a conclusion, sustaining the inherent batik textile through the traditional process gives positive efforts towards the economic growth. Besides, the detrimental effects towards the human and environment can be reduced efficiently by practicing natural dyeing. Last but not least, the sustainable of heritage is the best platform for social and economic growth to build the development needed and take a good care of the environmental wisely. That's all for the Citrus 2020 presentation. Thank you for your attention. Green Heart for a Living Planet.